Hello, students. Welcome back to this module Nutritional Biochemistry and Exercise for Health. And today we are going to study about the obesity, that what are the causes of obesity and how it can be managed by means of the nutrition and exercises. So let's start. Today in this session, you should be able to know, understand, and explain at the end of the session that what are the rules and ways by means of the nutrition and physical activity to prevent and treat the obesity. And today's session's outlines will cover about the causes and the classification of obesity, then the ways to measure obesity and associated disease with the obesity, and how it can be managed by the physical activity and nutrition. So first, before starting this, there is a concept, the basic definitions you should be able to know the what the term obesity means is. Obesity means is the gaining of the weight, increased body weight that is not normal. So this is called as obesity. And there is some work that I want to see from you that have a search on from search related articles and WHO indications and find the proper definition of obesity according to the WHO. And please put in the comments and review that what you find out. Yeah. Now let's discuss about the statistics of the obesity. According to the Department of Health England in 2010, it was evaluated that around 30% of children of age 2 to 15 years and adults that are age more than 16 years, that were about 62.8% adults, were found overweight or obese, and among which 26.1% adults and 16% of those children were found obese. So this is a high figure, and it was estimated that if it would not be controlled and the same practice is being practiced and be done by the population, so it is estimated that around 41 to 48% of men and 35 to 43% women will be obese. Now, etiology of obesity. What actually are the causes of the obesity that results in gaining of the weight? Number one is eating of processed foods like junk foods that like fries, fried food stuff, burger. So these are the main causes of the obesity. Then low intake of fruit and vegetables in normal meals. So this is one of the main factors, and this way less fiber intake in our body is going, less the required vitamins and minerals are going, rather than only the macronutrients that are going through the processed foods, which is totally unhealthy, and these are results into the obesity. Further, other causes are the use of low unrefined carbohydrate food in meals consumptions, high alcohol intake, large portion sizes in comparison than the normal required one, and then the comfortable eating, that no need to cook, just go outside, buy from the outside the processed food and eat, and then low or less physical activity. So these are some of the main reasons of the obesity. The third main is the genetic, which we cannot be modified or controlled. So this is the genetic one. It means that what it is written in our inheritance is the genetic one. However, we can control our physical activity and our eating and living style. This is the amount, but we cannot control the genes, but we can manage it to prolong the effect. The other reason of obesity is the medical reason. Maybe someone is disabled or due to any condition or a disease or due to any medication, the person results to any obesity. Obesity is actually related and how we can measure by the energy balance. For example, look at this picture. If we eat more, so our energy intake is more, but we are doing physical activity less, so burning the energy which we have taken by our meal burning less, consuming it less. So what happened? Our energy expenditure will be less rather than what we have eaten. That was a lot. For example, we eat a lot, around 40, but we are consuming less, around within the 10% of it. So its result to be the obesity. It's mean gaining of weight. It is also found through various research articles and researches that uh, obesity and overweight is most obvious and more found evident in lower socioeconomic groups rather than higher socioeconomic groups. And diseases that are associated with obesity, such as the cardiovascular diseases, diabetes type 2, and cancer, are also found prevalent in such group of the population. So the most evident are the lower socioeconomic families are, and among them the most evident were young children that are more exposed to the higher weight gain in infancy, therefore in adulthood as well. And the reason is that obviously the difference in their feeding, their lifestyle, then parenthood and parental body mass index and obesity as well. So there is a stronger correlation. It was found that with the women's BMI rather than in comparison with the men's. And women's among the gender were found more prevalent with the higher BMI rate. It means that higher obesity rate in comparison with the men. There is an article, some explanation and information is shared in this slide, and I want that after this session, please have a look and read this article thoroughly to understand. And what actually it's want to explain to you what is the as a result that there are various genes in our body, because genes have all information of our body to control our body programming, our all things, and there is still some specific hundreds of genes in our body as well that are involved in controlling our body regulation, weight regulation. And some few genes are also exposed to the gene mutations, which is one of, you would say, a bad effect is that from our environment or other similar effects that may result to the obesity or the severe obesity. So these are some of the main factors. And the main stress like this depression, stress, UV lights, smoking. So different factors are coming that may result into the genetic mutation and radiations as well. Now let's discuss about the hormone, leptin. Like insulin, leptin is also a hormone. But when leptin hormone is released, what it functions, leptin hormone is associated as an adipocyte hormone, and it releases secreted according to the adipose tissue mass in our body and the nutritious status of our body is. It influenced by many factors such as the insulins. And why it release? If the person has higher in adipose tissue mass, so it stops the satiety center to less urge to eat food. Thus, in this way, controlling our body weight as well, and to maintain the body and energy balance in our body as well. And from which part of our body this hormone releases? It releases from a part of our brain that is present in the skull, and this part of the brain is called as the hypothalamus, from where leptin hormone is released to control our body weight gain and our body, energy expenditure requirement. And this you can find more detail in a book in the chapter 7 in Man and Nutritional in 2005 when it was published. Here, this is a picture showing you the comparison. On the right hand side, you are seeing a mouse which is very, very obese in comparison to a mouse that is placed on the calculator dish on the left hand side. What is actually the difference? Here, the researcher, Caesar and Whitney, in 2000, they performed this experiment and observed that the mouse that is on the right hand, this mouse lacked genes that is related to produce the leptin hormones. Thus, this mouse have no leptin hormone to control its body functions, satiety center, and all, the energy expenditure. Thus, in result, what happened? This mouse is obese because it have no control on its satiety, all this, because having no leptin hormone. While the another mouse, it have the leptin hormone. Though both mouses have, the genes of being obesity in their genes, but only the leptin hormone is making the difference of their body requirements and the energy expenditure and of being obese. So this is one of interesting and knowledgeable articles. So please have a read on this article as well. Now let's discuss about the types of obesity. There are different types of the obesity. Number one is the aneroid apple shaped, and other is the pear shaped obesity, and the third one is universal obesity. So what is actually the difference between the two is apple means apple shape, increase in the body weight, fatty composition in the body of a person, while pear shape means that in the form of a pear, the increase of the fat mass in the body of a person, of an individual. So that too is called, these are the different types of the obesity. In Rizwan, okay, let's go to the apple. That is the aneroid types of obesity. It is more commonly found in the women. It is observed that as they age, because it is also related with their sexual testosterone hormones as well. So it is more obvious in the men rather than in the women, and it is related to the fat accumulation mainly around the waist circumference of the men, and it is actually the visceral fat. Visceral fat means that the fat that is deposited beyond the skin of a person is called as the visceral fat. And this high probability is found of developing the metabolic diseases such as the intolerance of carbohydrates, then hypertension, that means blood pressure, hypercholesteremia. Hypercholesteremia means there's rise of the lipid level, cholesterol levels in the blood, and the cardiovascular diseases like coronary heart disease and stroke. Now, next, another type of the obesity is the pear shape. It is also known as the genoid obesity, and it is found more obvious in women rather than in women, and it is related to the female sexual hormones that are estrogens and progesterones. However, this type of obesity is not found to be associated with the metabolic diseases, as we saw and studied in the pear shape, that is the android type of the obesity. And in this obesity, fat accumulation is present around the gluteofemoral region of person. What is mean by this? That around the buttocks and the thighs of the person, of an individual. Now, next third one, the type of the obesity is the universal obesity. Universal obesity means the spreading around the body, not at a specific area of the body, and it is obvious in children who are getting obese. Here in this picture, the difference is showing among the fat and the fat-free mass. That means the body composition of a lean mass body person and the obese person. You can see it is very obvious here, and all the contents as well. According to WHO, it is recommended that if a person's BMI means basal metabolic index, is either the 30 or more than 30 kilograms per meter square, it means that the person is obese. And there are different classes of obesity as well, from class 1 to class 3, along with the increase in the obesity levels and the BMI levels of a person. And what is meant by the basal metabolic index? That's mean the basal metabolism, the energy expenditure, the burning of the calories in a person, how much the amount is, that is the measurement of the BMI according to the height and weight of a person. Now, here in this picture, it is showing the abdominal and the visceral fat here. How this can be measured? By measuring from the waist to the hip ratio. In women, it should not be more than 88 centimeter. In men, it should not be more than 102 centimeter. If it would be more than these, it's when the person is coming in the category of obesity, and obviously it also according to the height of the person as well, height and age. So now let's discuss about the central overweight and obesity in British youth aged among the youth children that are from 11 to 16 years old. And according to a cross-sectional survey study by a few or by some authors that were measured by the measuring the waist circumference of the youth in England. And what they found that the prevalence of the overweight and obesity is increasing in the British youth as well from the past 10 to 20 years. And BMI gives no indication of the body fat distribution. Therefore, there are some other ways as well to measure the fatty mass in the person individuals as well, which we already had covered in the week session 1 of this module. Then the waist circumference they found that is one of the good marker for measuring the central body fat accumulation of an individual to measure the obesity of such people. So the accumulation of the body fat, that is actually the central body fat, has risen more steeply than whole body fatness based on the height and the weight was observed for many years as well. That it is increasing very high and steeply. And obviously, the central obesity means that the more is factor towards getting the diseases that are associated with obesity. And in result of the obesity, what the chances of getting the diseases become more high, like as we already discussed, such as high blood pressure that we discuss where in the right type of obesity. Okay, so what are actually the high risk associated diseases are the hypertension, that is the high blood pressure, then the hypercholesteremia, it means that higher level of cholesterol in blood, which results in various diseases and problems. Which are the one more reason of getting more diseases, especially atherosclerosis, cardiac heart diseases. Then other is the diabetes type 2 because of the impairment of the glucose intolerance or insulin resistance. Because why? Because of the fat deposition. So not proper amount of insulin is releasing, or our cells, the receptors becoming resistant to respond to the insulin to maintain the glucose levels in our body. Other is the asthma related to breathing problems, then joint problems. Why joint problems? Because our joints, bones have the certain amount, have the capability to bear the weight. When our body weight will increase, then they also become fair to bear our lot of weight. So there are different problems in the joints and the ligaments can happen. Then the other main common is the fatty liver diseases and gastroesophageal reflux. Yeah, because where this extra amount of food energy will go, because we are not consuming it, so it starts to deposit over the liver of our body. Liver is one of the major functional organ of our body, that it is present along with the side of the, or beside our stomach. Then last one, it may result to the social and psychological problems as well. Yeah, of course, gaining the weight, difficulty for performing daily tasks, maybe bullying and other issues as well. According to research, it was found that the type 2 diabetes is one of the most commonest and prevalent factor is found among the people who are the obese. So among all these, it is one of the most prevalent one, and it was measured in 2001 by the National Audit Office. So please also let's find out the recent data as well, because this was the 2001 data. Now, what are the benefits of losing the weight by 10%? Yes, there are very advantages, many benefits to control our weight, not to of being obese. It will help to decrease our mortality rate, our morbidity rate as well. It means that of getting diseases and the death rate. Yeah, and it decreases also getting the chances of the hypertension, diabetes type 2, and hypercholesteremia. And as you see, we already have discussed in the previous section that also related to the cholesterol, that there are different types of the cholesterol. And it is required that our bad cholesterol, that are the LDL low density lipoprotein and triglyceride should be lesser amount, while HDL is a good type of cholesterol. So there is no need to decrease the HDL. if there is a relation between the physical activity and the obesity. Yes, it is observed that the persons who are in sedentary lifestyle are being be more obese than the persons who are more physically active. So long-term positive energy balance and consequent long, weight gain from the high energy intake and low energy expenditure. And there are different ways by which the total energy expenditure can be measured and calculated, such as by the BMI, that is the basal metabolic rate, and the other is the dietary-induced thermogenesis. The third one is by shivering and non-shivering. It is called as scientifically called as the adaptive thermogenesis. And the last one is the physical activity. And among these physical activities, the voluntary one and the easiest one to increase our it means that to burn our calories, total energy expenditure, and the percentage of the total external expenditure for the athlete, it should be 70 to 80%, while for the sedentary individuals it is either 30 or less than 30%. So now next topic is coming on the hunger appetite. Appetite, here are the two terms, that is the satiation and satiety. Yeah, so what is actually the difference between these two terms are? The satiation is related to the ending of the meal, stopping the hunger. So when we eat food and then food comes inside in our stomach and in our intestine, so there is a nervous some signals generate to our brain that please stop to eat food, now you are full. While satiety means that after eating food and it gets absorbed in the bloodstream after the digestion, then from our stomach, some nervous signals goes to our brain. This part of the brain is called as the satiety center, and it shows that now there is a feeling of hunger now. Okay. Here's another research conducted by Herbert in 1977. He actually what he experimented that he gave apple to few individuals and observed that they ate the apple in 17 minutes, while to the other group of the people he gave apple puree which was finished within 6 minutes, while the juice to the third group was finished within 1.5 minutes. But after this experiment, what he was concluded that the liquid calories of the same food are less satiating because it contains less fiber, less strings, so easily finishing very quickly, and less oral exposure. So therefore, the weight control people should consume the raw food rather than consuming in the form of a juice or a liquid form. Now, let's go to the summary of today's session. What we have covered that obesity results from more energy intake rather than the expenditure. Then obesity results from the interaction of the several factors, among which genetics is the main one. Then others are the environmental, unhealthy eating and living style, and sedentary lifestyle. The third next point that we discussed was that, and right, that means active type of obesity is associated with greater risk of certain metabolic diseases such as the heart diseases and diabetes type 2. Other patterns are also obvious observed in different populations such as the pear-shaped, that is the genoid, and the universal obesity. BMI and waist measurement fundamentals are some of the basic measurement ways to measure the obesity and can relate to the associated risks with obesity. Right, and these risks are the diabetes type 2, hypertension, hypercholesteremia, and glucose intolerance. So the higher the food choices and eating behavior, then the higher satiety factor of a meal as well. So thank you so much. We are finishing today. Anything, any question, you're most welcome at any time. Thank you.